Ready for me? Michael Dwyer, D-W-Y-E-R, Police Chief and also the Fire Chief for West Newbury. The West Newbury Fire Department responded to an emergency at the school, 24 Main Street, the Pentucket Middle High School, this morning at approximately 9:41 a.m. It was for a strange odor in one of the classrooms. It was reported in the science lab on the middle school side of the building, which is on the left side of this building. Units responded. The school resource officer for the town of West Newbury, who's stationed here at Pentucket, ordered the evacuation of the building. There were no alarms that were sounded. This was just done based on the reports of a strange odor and subsequently students that felt nauseous and had difficulty breathing. The students were all evacuated safely from the building. We planned for this, quite frankly, but we had a massive response from our communities of Groveland, West Newbury, Merrimack, Newburyport. Not only law enforcement response, but a EMS response and a fire response. All the students were safely evacuated from the building. Is that okay? All the students were safely evacuated from the building. We had special operations from the Mass Department of Fire Services respond because we're now treating this as a possible hazmat situation. We don't have any indications of what is in that classroom that caused these students to feel the way they did. That's ongoing at this moment.
Chief, can you just talk about the response? So some kids are getting sick, and that's when you do this massive response?
Yeah, so the plan was for the school to be evacuated because anytime you have any strange odor that there's no information as to what it is or where it's coming from, it's best practice to evacuate the building. Our response to this school is always going to be done through the region, Merrimack, Groveland, West Newbury, and it's precautionary. We want to make sure that we get in there and see what the problem is, and then either make a determination of whether or not the students and staff should remain or if they should be dismissed.
Is there anything sinister that you believe, like someone deployed some mace or some pepper spray happened at other schools? So if it's not that, what would it be?
All indications are showing that this was an odor that was from a science lab.
Science lab, do we know what is in the science lab?
We're still working. We're parsing that data right now. As you'd imagine, a science lab is going to have, lots of items in it that are used.
How many students were impacted? Like, how many felt sick and how many were taken to the hospital?
So, with mild symptoms, and then the 4 individuals were transported to area hospitals on life-threatening injuries. In addition to that, the state hazmat team is on scene. They've also assigned individuals from techs from the hazmat team to those hospitals for further information gathering. We do anticipate that some students will be going to the hospital purely out of care of their parents or their caregivers.
What kind of symptoms did they have?
So it was reported to us initially as nausea, and some were reporting a little bit of irritation to their throats.
It was 4 students that went to the hospital?
4 students. Yes.
4 students. And were they all in 7th grade in that lab?
I don't have that information at this time. We're still going through that.
How about faculty and staff? I said 42, some of that, or is that all?
I know it was reported to me that it was mostly students, no staff, no visitors that were transported or treated.
Superintendent, can you just talk about how the response went? Some parents, obviously, were rushing down here concerned anytime they get a call or a text from you. Can you just talk about the response and how the evacuation went?
Sure. First, I'm Mr. Bartholomew, Superintendent of Schools. It's BARTH throughout the way. Before I get into that, just a huge shout out to our students, our staff, faculty, certainly all the response teams. That they did just such an incredible job. I mean, above all else, you always put student safety first. And I think what we saw here is the execution of what we drill throughout the year, different situations. Of course, something like this, 7th grade wing, our staff and our students for doing an exceptional job, and a thank you to certainly Chief Dwyer and his crew. So I think in this situation, when you're looking at an odor that you're not sure about, getting everybody outside the building, as Chief Dwyer said before, I think that's always like primary get out and figure out what it is. And if out of an abundance of caution, bringing in hazmat, absolutely, that's the smart thing to do. Yeah, the response, like we try to get information out as soon as we know what's going on. And I know for families in particular, because there's a lot of misinformation sometimes that goes out. So we try to get out as much factual information as we can as quickly as possible to just calm parents down, because you'll hear some stories that are just wildly inaccurate and scary. So us getting out the correct information was a big piece. And I think here what we saw was, we were able to communicate, as you can expect, when there's a lot of cell phones around, that jams up the towers. We were able to use some alternative communication devices to communicate to faculty and staff. You saw them over here, you saw them kind of around the building. So you have to coordinate with them because they're checking after the kids. But I think the process, particularly the bus drivers, just did an excellent job with the patience of as students were getting loaded onto the buses. We have to check to make sure every kid is going where they're supposed to be going and every child's accounted for. So all of those drivers having that patience and all the staff that were checking them off, that was a huge help in getting the order dismissal as much as possible. I've been in places where serious things are going on and parents just show up. And for parents, it's, this is something we're used to on these drills, since their parents are not used to this. So we had sent out a message asking them, please be patient, wait until the buses are gone, the student drivers are gone. So that's kind of the approach we took.
How many, will school be canceled tomorrow until this is resolved, or is it hard to call right now?
Yeah, hard to decide right now. I think we hope to have information soon, within the next couple hours, and based on that information, we'll make a decision on tomorrow.
And how many students total between the high school and middle school?
About 965.
And this had nothing to do with the fact that this is a new building, obviously. Whatever you're focused on is something within that lab. I mean, because no alarms went off. Did it have anything to do with the school?
So at this point, we don't know. I mean, obviously it has something to do with the school. Did it have something to do with a chemical in that lab? Not sure. Was it something that was in a P-trap or something? We just don't know. But I think at the end of the day, it was enough that caused some students not to feel well. And that in and of itself, I think the hazmat response is perfectly appropriate.
Maybe one more. And the odor, did it spread throughout, or was it really kind of contained to that classroom?
Yeah, my understanding, it was contained into that area of the building.
All right, just one.
Were like some tests happening today?
Yeah, there was an AP exam that was going on today, and so that AP exam had to come to a halt, and they'll have to resume that. They'll have to coordinate with AP testing and
Not like an SAT or anything.
No, it was an AP exam, which is pretty significant.
Yes, yeah.
Superintendent, just for parents that are wondering, and the kids, they have to leave all their personal belongings in the
Yes.
building. That includes cell phones and keys and whatnot. What do parents need to know going forward?
So important thing to know for parents on this one, great question, is that as soon as we have the clearance from that building, we'll probably have staff here, so if people want to come back in a window of time to come and get their personal items, they can certainly do that. But there are certainly going to be more student cars here than there normally would be after the end of the day, because so many students had keys that were left in their classrooms.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you everybody so much, really appreciate it.